Hello and welcome to the Introduction to Stardraw Design 7.3 webinar. Today, Wednesday, March the 20th. Today's webinar should last approximately 45 minutes. We will begin with an introduction to Stardraw.com, the company, moving on to Stardraw Design 7.3, the application, and then go into a live demo of the software. We do welcome questions at any time, so I will endeavour to answer any and all questions as quickly and as completely as possible. We do like these to be user-driven sessions, and we are happy to run over the time if we have lots of questions. So let us get straight onto it and answer a few of those questions right now. The first of those being, well, who is Stardraw.com? Well, we are a software company. Software is all that we do and all that we have done since 1992. We have offices in the US and the UK, and we're known as the developer of system design and documentation software, as well as system control applications. What you may not know about us is that we also carry out custom software development for corporate clients. So if you used RackTools 3.5 or any of those other applications, they are all built on top of a Stardraw engine. And including our OEMs, we have around about 45,000 users in 83 countries worldwide. Now, today we're going to be looking at Stardraw Design 7.3. And this is an application that we've developed from the ground up as a design and documentation tool specifically for professional AV systems integrators. The purpose of this software is to generate drawings. These can be engineering drawings or presentation drawings, but more than that, it can generate all of the documentation that backs up your project. We refer to these as reports, and they can be things like bills of material or equipment lists or quotations or cable schedules and so forth and so on. The architecture of Stardraw Design 7.3 is project-based, and this means that in one file you have all of the information about that project. Projects are made up of products. So when you're working in a drawings view or in any of the other views and you're adding products, you're adding those products into the project and you're building an underlying product database within the project. When you're working in these drawing views and the other views, you're really operating on that underlying product database. And that means that if you make a change in one place, that change will ripple through to other drawings and other views as is appropriate. So with Stardraw Design 7.3, what we have is a fully integrated, product-aware, project-based design and documentation tool for professional AV systems integrators. Important within our industry is the ability to interface with AutoCAD users. So with Stardraw Design 7 and without any third-party software, you can import DWG and DXF files. You can edit them as if they were native drawings, and you can save any drawing out as DWG or DXF. Similarly with PDF, now we found out there in the marketplace that more and more people seem to be sharing their drawings exclusively by the PDF format. So architects or consultants or venue owners might send you a PDF of their drawings. This is a terrible idea. As a matter of fact, it's not what PDF was designed for, and it creates real headaches for integrators, not least because the drawings that you get are never to the original scale. But with Stardraw Design 7.3, you can import the PDF, and assuming it's vector-based, and most of them are, then you can edit the objects that have been imported from the PDF. So text is text, lines are lines, rectangles are rectangles, and you can work on that imported PDF as if it was a native drawing. As with all of our software, Stardraw Design 7.3 is very fast, it's easy to use, it's intuitive. But this is our 7th generation design and documentation tool. So it is very mature, it is very feature rich, it is very powerful, and it's very flexible. But the point is, you don't need to know everything about Stardraw Design 7 before you can do anything. As I say, most users are productive in their very first session without any specialist training. So we'll have a quick tour through the main interface. Design 7.3 is a project-based system. So the first thing that you will see is the project dashboard. And the first page on the project dashboard is for the project details, the name of the project, the venue, the clients, that kind of thing. This dashboard also allows us to get to the different views on the project, and those are the drawings view, the reports view, and the products view. Now, Stardraw Design 7.3 is a configurable application, and we know that there are certain drawing types that AV integrators do all of the time. So we have a smart, task-oriented drawing module set up for each of those types of drawing. The first of these is called Block Schematics, and this type of drawing has a focus on the interconnections between the products in your project. For your 19-inch enclosures, we have a module called Rack Layouts. This has a high detail front and rear view of your racks and a side view that shows the depth of products in your racks. And the third drawing module is for presentations or customer-facing documents. We call this one Pictorial Schematics. It shows the design intent in a way that a non-technical audience can understand without showing all of the engineering detail. The fourth drawing module is called Panel Layouts. This is for when you're creating custom metalwork for connection panels or control panels. And the fifth and final drawing module is Plan View. This is a general purpose 2D CAD interface, which has a focus on floor plans and reflected ceiling plans. Very often you will start with an imported DWG or DXF or PDF file, which would be the floor plan of your venue, and then we can edit and add stuff on top of that imported drawing. So those are the 5 drawing modules, and your license can contain as many or as few of those modules as you require. The next set of license components are called utilities, and these add value across the whole application. The first of these is DWG import and export. That does pretty much what you would expect. We then have the products grid. Now, this is a different way of looking at your project. It's a split window interface where the top half of the window is a dynamic search tool. This makes it easy to find products to add into your project. And then the lower half is all of the products in your current project along with their attributes. And we'll learn more about attributes later on. The third utility is an integrated reporting interface, and again, this takes product and attribute information, but collates it into a page-based layout, which you can then print off or send to PDF or export to third-party applications like Word and Excel for further editing. So those are the 3 utilities, and again, your license can contain as many or as few of those as you need. We then come on to the product libraries. So in Stardraw Design 7.3, we have a huge high quality library of line art of products from manufacturers. So today, this contains over 137,000 symbols of products from nearly 1,500 industry manufacturers. The symbols show products for the different drawing modules. So we have the block schematic view, the high detail front and rear views for rack layouts. We have the panel layouts view, the pictorial schematics view, and so forth and so on. And we update these libraries on a regular basis. We publish new products pretty much every business day. So while we have all these different views that you can see rotating through in this slide, we also have plan view symbols based on the JSTD 710 standard. If you're not familiar with this, it's an industry standard that was jointly published by Infocom, now Avixa, CEDIA, and the CTA. The title is something like Symbolic Representation of AV and Control Products for Architectural Layouts, but we're a licensee of that standard, so with Stardraw Design 7.3, you get the default JSTD 710 standard symbols for any products that are likely to appear in a plan view or a reflected ceiling plan view as well. Now, although we do have this huge library, it's not complete and it never will be complete. So if you're working with Stardraw Design 7 and you find that a product that you need is not in the library, and you will encounter this situation, please let us know. Just tell us. We have an online product by request service. You simply sign in, give us the manufacturer and the model number that you need, and this is how we prioritize the addition of new products to go into the library. Because we have so many different users in different geographical locations servicing different markets, it's actually impossible for us to know what product is important to any particular integrator. So if you tell us what you need, we can add it. If you don't tell us, we can't guess, and we'll add the products that have been requested. Now, having said all of this, it is, of course, very easy to create your own custom product records using the software. We call these custom product records user-defined products, or UDPs, and you can generate them without doing any drawing work by using the UDP wizard, And we also have a freeform symbol editing interface, which allows you to make any kind of graphical changes that you want to the symbols that you generate. So I mentioned earlier on the concept of attributes, and attributes are basically bits of data that live in certain things. So a product can contain attributes, a cable can contain attributes, as can symbols. An attribute has a type. They can be a number, like pricing. They can be a piece of text, like something that describes something about the product, like its location. Or an attribute can be a link to a centralized data source that we call the product attribute spreadsheet. So if you want to set up your own custom pricing so that whenever you use a product in a project, that pricing is brought in, you would do that using the product attribute spreadsheet. So we use these attributes to describe any kind of real-world characteristic of products, and the attribute interface itself is completely unlimited and fully customizable. So you can make attributes work in a way that makes sense for you. We're very non-prescriptive about this, but it's through the use of attributes that from your project, you can then generate reports and other forms of text-based output. In terms of other productivity tools, I've mentioned user-defined products or UDPs and the fact that you can create them, you can edit them, but we also employ a cloud-based synchronization service. So every user has their own personal, private, secure cloud storage account. And if you create a UDP, that data will be uploaded to your cloud storage account. And then if you sign into a different computer, that machine will be synchronized against your account in the cloud. So you always have access to the custom data that you have generated. We have some very cool cable tools. These include features like rubber banding, so that if you move symbols around, then cables follow them, and you don't spend a lot of time constantly redrawing cables. We have auto cable bridging, where cables hop over each other. We have cable presets that allow you to define the look and the style and the feel and the data that underlines your cable objects. We have some neat cable labeling tools, including the ability to quickly and easily set sequential cable numbering. And we have feathers. Now, feathers are sometimes called fly-offs or continuations, and they show that a cable segment in one place continues somewhere else. It might be in the same drawing, it might be in a different drawing, but it's through the use of feathers that we can take disparate cable segments and display them as one contiguous cable object in the cable schedule. So they're actually very important. For title blocks, so those are the borders that go around your drawings that include things like the drawing name and number, what it's been issued for. We have a very neat custom title block solution. I've spoken about attributes, the fact that you can customize the attribute interface and create your own field names and placeholders, and also set your own default attribute preset values. I want to mention again our AutoCAD compatibility. We are an authorized Autodesk developer. We support all versions of DWG from R12 through to R2018. Later versions, so that's 2019 through to 2024, they are all identical to R2018. So you can use any version of DWG that's been released since 1992, and we will continue to add support for new versions of DWG as and when they're released. We've mentioned, of course, that we can import PDF files and edit those imported drawings. And if you want to share your native project file with someone that doesn't have a Stardraw license, we have a downloadable and freely redistributable viewer. So anyone can open up a .so7 file, that's our file format. They can look at all the drawings, they can change zooms, they can change views, they can print, but of course they can't change the project. In terms of system requirements, Stardraw Design 7.3 is a Windows application and it is exclusively 64-bit. We support the versions of Windows that Microsoft supports, so currently that's 8.1 through to Windows 11. In terms of hard disk space, this somewhat depends on the manufacturer libraries that you choose, but about half a gig is normally okay. A minimum of 4 gig of RAM, so that would be 2 gig for the operating system, 2 gig for Stardraw. But being a 64-bit application, there is in effect no limit to the amount of available RAM that we can access on your system, which is very useful if you're working with really huge projects with lots and lots of drawings. For installation of the software, for updates and synchronization, and for licensing actions, you need to have an internet connection. But you do not need to be online to work with Stardraw Design 7.3. It works great when it's offline, works even better when you're online. And I've mentioned licensing, so a few words about our licensing model. First of all, our licensing is cloud-based. So as a registered user, you have an account in the cloud, and that contains a pool of licenses. When you sit down to work on a particular computer, you take one of your licenses onto that machine, and when you're finished, the license can be released back into the cloud, so you can take it onto a different machine. So this means it's very easy to move licenses around different computers and to share a license with your colleagues. So our licensing is based on the maximum number of concurrent users. So that's people working at the same time. If you only have one person working with the software at a time, you only need one license. If you want to have two people working at the same time, you need two licenses. The commercial model for Stardraw is a little bit unusual. Sometimes we're asked, is this an annual thing or is it a one-off? It's a bit of both. In the first year, the initial purchase price comprises two parts. 50% of the first year cost is a license for perpetual use. That means that all things being equal, you can continue to use what you've got forever. The other 50% of the first year cost is the mandatory first year subscription. Now, the subscription is a maintenance and service package. It delivers unlimited free technical support, data updates, application updates, and access to online services, including the product request service. What that means is that in year two, you only pay for the subscription if you choose to continue it. So that means in year two, you only pay half of whatever year one cost. And additional licenses, so that's licenses after the first user, they too are half price, both in the first year and in subsequent years. And that's it. That's the entirety of our licensing model. There are no extra or hidden costs. So we can now move on to the live demo, and that logo reminds me that this presentation is AVIXA certified. At the end of the webinar, you'll receive an email. The email contains a link. The link will take you to a quiz. And if you answer enough questions in the quiz correctly, and I assure you that you will receive a certificate that you can submit to AVIXA for your CTS renewal units. So we can move on to the live demo. We haven't had any questions yet, and that's entirely normal, but I'd just like to remind people and say to those people that joined us late that we do welcome questions at any time. Just type in your question to the GoToWebinar console. I will try to answer all questions as quickly and as completely as I can. So we are now running Stardraw Design 7.3 and looking at the homepage. This is showing lots of useful information coming down from our website, including things like recent library updates. And just down here, bottom right-hand corner, just want to point out that I am signed in as me. So the software knows who I am, knows about my preferences. And this is all part of personalization, which is an important topic in Design 7. So let's begin a new project, and we see the project dashboard, we see the project details page. So I'm going to begin just by inputting some information about the project. I'm going to call it my sample project, and the client I'll just call my client, and we don't really need to do anything else at this point. But from this dashboard, on the left-hand side, we have links to the other important views on the project. So that's the products view, the drawings view, and the reports view. We're going to go straight to the drawings view, and the drawings view manifests the drawing modules. Remember, there are 5 drawing modules as templates, so I can begin new drawings based on these templates. As a reminder, we have block schematics for showing system interconnections, rack layouts for your 19-inch enclosures, pictorial schematics for sales presentations, panel layouts for custom metalwork, and plan view for floor plans and reflected ceiling plans. I'm going to begin with the block schematic. You don't have to start here, but it's where most people spend most of their time because it's where you do your engineering detail. So we have at the center of the screen an infinitely sized drawing area. Your drawings can be as big as you need them to be. We're not like Visio, which is page-based, and that can cause a problem if your drawing exceeds the extent of the page. We're actually much more like AutoCAD in this regard. Your drawing can be whatever size it needs to be. On the left-hand side, we have an area called the product browser. And this shows the manufacturer libraries that I care about. Remember, I'm signed in as me, so these are my preferences. Your product browser will look very different because it will show the manufacturers that you care about. I just want to show you very quickly how we set this up. In the Tools menu under Personalization, we have a dialog with a number of tabs. The second tab is for setting up the manufacturer libraries. There are two lists. The list on the left shows all of the available manufacturers, and today there are 1,448. The list on the right is my selected manufacturers, and these manufacturers and their data will be downloaded and synchronized to the local machine. If you make a change to your selected manufacturers and click on OK, as I just did then, keep an eye on the status bar. You need to allow synchronization to complete before you start using the product browser, because with some of these manufacturers, they have literally thousands of products to be downloaded and all the symbols that accompany them. But once the product browser is synchronized, the way to use it is to choose a manufacturer, drill down into their product range, and let's choose a product like that. So I've just dragged in a couple of loudspeakers like so, and then I will choose an amplifier to drive them. So let's choose a Crown CDI 1000 and drop it in like so. Okay, so now to show the interconnections, because what we care about in Block Schematics are inputs and outputs and the connections between them, from the toolbar I can choose my cable tool. And this tool works in conjunction with cable presets. So these currently are just showing some default cable preset, audio control, data lighting, etc., etc. I'll just choose an audio preset. And as I approach an output or an input, you can see that there is a blue highlight that shows that there's a connection point. My cable can connect to that particular point. So I can just click and drag, and that gives me a 3-segment cable that we call a dogleg. Second way of drawing a cable is to click at the start point, and then we can click to set each node. And a single click on a connection point auto terminates and connects the cable to the symbol. So that's the second way of drawing a cable. The third way of drawing a cable is to set up that first segment, and then if you click and drag, you get 2 perpendicular cable segments, and when you drop on a connection point, again, the cable terminates. And using that technique, it's very easy to create quite sophisticated interconnections. Now, obviously, you would never connect a product like that in the real world, but the point is that that was just 3 mouse actions to create that interconnection. So I'll just remove that, and we have put together a couple of loudspeakers and an amplifier and all of the connections between them. Now what I'm going to do is select all of those, hold down the Control key on my keyboard, and create a copy of those products and connections. So that's just productivity tip number 1. AV systems are very often built of repeating chunks of functionality. So the tip is put as much of that chunk in as possible, the products and the connections, and then duplicate it. It is twice as quick to put in 2 loudspeakers, 1 amplifier, and the connections between them as it would be to put in 4 loudspeakers and 2 amplifiers and then all of the interconnections. Okay, so this is very much Drawing 101. Hopefully you can see that everything is very quick and easy and simple. But what I want to do now, because time is very limited, is talk about attributes. So if I click on a product, over here on the right-hand side, we have an area called the Properties grid. And the Properties grid shows the properties of whatever is selected in the drawing window. If nothing is selected, it shows the properties of the drawing itself, things like the drawing defaults, the size of the grid, the number of snap points. But when I click on a product symbol, this shows me information about that product, and products support attributes. So you can see the collection of attributes here. Again, these are default attribute names. You can change these to be whatever you want. But in this case, we've got things like room, location, zone, type, system, etc. So I can select all of those loudspeakers and say that they're in a room called the auditorium, like so. And the top 2 might be in a location called stage left, while the bottom 2 would be in a location called stage right. And you'll see how and why we use these attributes in a little bit. Now, cables also support attributes, but a cable has a unique function in that it connects this thing to that thing, and it has a start connector and an end connector and a length, and also it is a compound drawing object, so the properties grid for a cable looks a little bit different. And if this is the first time that you're looking at Stardraw Design 7.3, when you look at the properties grid, you might think, wow, that's very daunting. There's a lot of stuff going on. But as you develop some familiarity, you will realize that there are actually quite a small number of these properties that you actually use, and it becomes very easy. So cables, like products, support attributes, but attributes that are unique to a cable, things like start connector, end connector, from, to, length. And in Stardraw Design 7.3, cable labels are really important. So we have a special group for those labels. So let me set a value for the end label. We have 3 cable labels, a start, a middle, and an end. I'm going to set the value for the end label like so. And this attribute is special. As you can see, it appears on the drawing, so I can identify my cable. And one of the features I mentioned earlier on was rubber banding. So if I move things around, then the cables stay connected. So that saves me a lot of time later on, particularly when the drawing gets more complicated and I have to move things around. I don't spend all of my time reattaching cables. So this is all extremely good, but I don't really want to have to type in every single label on every cable across my whole system. So instead, I'm going to use this tool. It's called the Cable Labels tool, and this allows me to set all 3 cable label values in a single action. It pops up a modeless dialog, so I can set some values. So we'll say the middle label is AWG16, end label can be Audio 001. Now that end label, it looks like a number, albeit that it's got quite sophisticated formatting. It starts with the word audio, it's got a hyphen, and we will add preceding zeros. Excuse that, I don't really know why that's popping up. We've got preceding zeros if the number is less than 100. So what I can do with a number is increment it. And you'll see what this means. If I hover over a cable, it highlights, you can see the existing values. When I click, those new cable label values are assigned to the cable. And if we zoom in down at the bottom, we're now up to Audio 007, Audio 008. So I have now created 24 cable labels, 8 of which are sequentially numbered, in just a few seconds and in just a few mouse clicks. So that is very powerful and saves a lot of time. Now, one of the great things about Stardraw Design 7.3 and one of our design philosophies is to try to eliminate duplicate data entry. If you put data in once, use it many, many times. This drawing, while it's quite a simple drawing, actually contains enough information for me to generate a basic cable schedule. So we'll do that and see what we get. So I will export a cable schedule. This is going to go onto my desktop. It will be called My Sample Project Cable Schedule. And if I minimize Design 7, there, that is the file that we've just generated. If I open this up in Excel, you can now see that the data that has been generated from that drawing. We have a row for each cable in my system, and the columns show which drawing the cable is in, the product that the cable goes from, and all of its attributes. We then get the start port, so we figure that out automatically, which port the cable is connected to. You can see the labels that we've assigned, the port that the cable is going to, all of the attributes of the cable, but we haven't set any of those yet. And then we have the product that the cable is going to and all of its attributes. So I know just from that drawing that cable number 1 is going to the auditorium, stage left, attaching to that product. And I haven't had to enter any extra data. So that is a very good thing. Now, before I move on, and we haven't had any questions yet, again, that can be normal. That could mean I'm doing a very good job. It could mean that everyone's gone to sleep. It's entirely possible. But one question that we do sometimes get is, well, what do I do if the product browser doesn't contain the product that I need? Well, to get working with something right now, you can create a user-defined product, a UDP, in a matter of seconds. It's found in the Tools menu again. Just choose Create User-Defined Product, and this pops up the wizard. Now, in Stardraw, products are identified using 3 criteria, and those are manufacturer, model number, and description. So any product has to have those 3 data fields completed. So I'm going to use my favorite manufacturer. It's Acme Electronics. They've brought out a new product in the Roadrunner series. It's the Roadrunner 0320, and it is, of course, a widget. So that's enough information to create a product. The categories that you can see down here equate to the folder structure that you will see in the product browser. So I'm just going to leave it with 1 level of depth of the folder structure. That's the manufacturer name. Then we go on to build the symbols for this product, because remember, each drawing module uses a different type of symbol. So we're working block schematics, so let's do a block schematic symbol. In schematics, what we care about are inputs and outputs. So let's say that this thing has got 4 audio inputs, 2 video inputs, a control input, and a power input. And on the output stage, it's got 2 audio outs and a video out, so it's a kind of a switcher. In the next window, we can customize the input and output ports. We can change the order of these ports. We can add separators. We can change the labeling, like so. And if I want to, I can add a glyph or an icon that represents the functionality of that product. And I'm done. That's all the information I need to enter for a block schematic symbol. Now imagine that this product is also rack mounted. So I'm going to want a symbol for the rack layout module. So we'll add one of those as well. So in this case, we just put in some dimensions. This thing is going to be 19 inches wide, 300 millimeters deep, 2U high. And that's all I need for a basic rack layout symbol. So when I click on the Finish button, and then on OK, just cast your eyes down here to the bottom left to the status bar. And you'll see we are uploading the UDP symbols and categories and attributes and products. And now we're downloading, so we're resynchronizing against the cloud storage account. And that new product is up here. It was the RR0320, and that is the product that we just generated. You can see there's the custom label that we put in and the glyph, and that just took a few seconds to generate that new symbol, and it behaves just like a Stardraw library symbol in that it's got connection points. If I move it, it supports rubber banding, and a whole lot of time has been saved. So now let us look at this project in a different way. I'm going to go back to the dashboard, this tab at the bottom left, and I'm going to go to the products view. So remember, the products view has 2 purposes. It shows me the products in my project down here at the bottom, and it's a search tool up here at the top. So let's say I want to find a new product to put into my project, another switcher. So I'll just type in a search term, and we search based on the model number and the description. And you can see that we found more than 100 products that match that search term. So let's filter it. Let's say actually it's a matrix switcher. Well, we still found more than 100 products. Maybe it's a matrix switcher whose model number begins C, P, T something, and that's now filtered the results down to 2. And if I double click on a result, it's added into my project. And if I want to have a quantity of these, I could say I want 3 of them, add them in, and now I've got 3 of the CPT 128 HVs in my project. So you can see I could add, for example, 100 ceiling speakers into this project in a single action. Now, if I go back to my block schematic drawing, there is a 3rd control area down here, which we haven't looked at yet. This is called the Available Symbols palette. This shows me products in my project for which a symbol is available to the current drawing type, but which is not yet in the current drawing. So all I have to do is drag out from the Available Symbols palette into my drawing, and when the palette is empty, then I know that I've got all of the products in my project in this drawing. So that's one of the functions of the Available Symbols palette. It's good for error checking. If you've got stuff in here and you know that you've got everything that you need in your drawing, then you may have duplicate products in your project. Conversely, If you've still got stuff in the available symbols palette, it may mean that you're missing something from the project in the current drawing. So either way, it's like a cross-reference. The other function of the available symbols palette is as a drawing accelerator. So let's go back to the dashboard, back to the drawings view, and create a new drawing within this project. I want to show my customer what the rack is going to look like. So we've created a new drawing. You can see here a second drawing tab. We've got the block schematic there. We've got the rack layout there. And here I just drag the products out and arrange them as they're going to be in the rack. The grid that you can see is 1 U high and 1 inch across, and everything is drawn on a 1-to-1 scale. So it's easy for me to mark in, for example, dimensions onto this drawing. So I've put in all of my library products, and I've left until last the UDP that I created earlier on, because this is a very basic symbol. We only put in the rack layout environment the dimensions, and all it knows about the product is the manufacturer, model number, and the description. But we can edit UDP symbols to look any way that we want. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, because I'm going to steal some graphics from another symbol and copy them. And I'm going to go over here to my Acme Electronics, choose that product, right click, and these are all the things that you can do with the UDP. One of them is to edit the symbols. And this takes us into the symbol editor, which you can recognize because A, it has a gray background, B, it always has the number of tabs for the drawing modules in your license. So I've got all 5 drawing modules, so there are 5 drawing tabs because there are 5 versions of symbols for each product. So what I'm going to do here is delete the ugly label that was in there and paste the graphics that I stole from that library symbol. You could draw new graphics, you could import a DWG from the manufacturer's website, you can do really whatever you want. You can even put in images if you choose. But the point is that all the graphics are fully editable. So let's say that this thing is just one channel. Maybe it's not a CD1000, it's a 1000A. Maybe it's not by Crown, it's by another manufacturer called Crow. And now I've got a new highly graphical symbol. I can save it. I just close this down, say, yes, I want to save it. And then back in the rack layout drawing, I can delete the symbol. And I'm going to make more of this than perhaps you would expect. I'm going to delete the symbol from the drawing. What this does is it removes the symbol from the drawing as you would expect, but it puts the product back in the available symbols palette because I haven't deleted the product from the project. I've only deleted the symbol from the drawing. Let's just undo that. If I want to remove a product from the project while I'm in the drawing view, and this is important, select it and hold down the Shift key on your keyboard. Shift Delete in the drawing view purges the product from the project. So it's no longer in the available symbols palette. If I go back to the product view, there is nothing by Acme Electronics here in my list of products. The thing has been removed. But I'll undo that, Control Z, and it comes back in. I'm going to delete the symbol. And when I drag the symbol back in, it's now using that edited symbol with the graphics. So that is wonderful. So now I've got my products arranged as they're going to be in the rack. I can then add the enclosure for them. So let's choose a floor standing BGR, something like that. Great. And we've got some space so we can fill this rack out with some accessories. So let's begin with under rack accessories. We've got 4U up here, so I could put in a 4U drawer for my patch cables and remotes and so forth and so on. I could put in blank panels or fan panels. I'm going to put in some vent panels. So there's a vent there, drag that down, copy it down, and now my rack is complete. And it only took, in normal usage, that would only take, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds, but you can see the level of detail that's in the products from our library. This is just the front view. We also have a rear view. If we go up here to the toolbar, this flips the rack around and you can see information about that product from the wiring side. We also have a side view, and that gives you the depth of the products in the rack. And in this view, if I bring up the layers dialog, so like AutoCAD, Stardraw is a multi-layer drawing environment. In rack layouts, we have a layer called side view clearances. And if I make that layer visible, the dotted lines that you can see are at the back, the clearance to allow for the longest connector that attaches to that product, plus a safe bend radius of cable. And at the front, this is the travel of the drawer at its full extension. So side view clearances are actually really useful, especially if you're building custom enclosures. This information tends not to be on the spec sheet for the product. Everyone's been caught out at least once. Anyway, we go back to the front view, and now what I'm going to do is select all of these products, and I'm going to add some more attributes. So these are all in a room. They're in a rack, so obviously the room is going to be the rack room. And the location of all of these products could be rack 1. Okay, so now let's go back again to the products view. And you can see here, we've now got 16 products in our project, and they all have a location attribute and a room attribute. And I think that's interesting because I've only entered 5 bits of data: auditorium, stage left, stage right, rack room, rack 1. And yet I've got 32 data fields that have been populated. So again, this comes back to avoiding repetitive data entry. If you think about how and when you're going to add data into your project, you can save a massive amount of time. And if you only enter data one time, you make fewer mistakes. Mistakes cost time and money. Okay, now we are running quite close to the 45-minute mark, so I'm going to say to anyone, if there are any questions, please do feel free to ask them now. But I will move to show you the other drawing modules, and then we'll head towards the end. I don't want to keep you too late. I know a lot of people are joining us from Europe, where it's early evening, certainly. So let us go back now and open up a new or a sample project of a completed system. So in this project, we have one drawing of each type, but in your project, you can have as many drawings as you want. You can have 10 block schematics, 2 rack layouts, 15 plan views, whatever you need. So let's go to the block schematic view. We began with an area a bit like this. So 4 loudspeakers, 2 amplifiers. So it's just the rest of the system. We have different circuit paths in different colors on different layers. And we can, again, selectively view and hide those layers. So I'm going to turn off my audio circuit paths in blue, and video is in purple. I'm going to turn that layer off as well. And what I'm left with is my power distribution system, which is in green. And I might want to print this drawing off in isolation and give it to the electrical subcontractor who's already on site, and they're pulling in the power cabling. So they might actually pull the power lines to the right place. Before I print this off, I would want to add a title block, a border, to identify the drawing. And we do that through the drawing menu. And while I'm here, because time is so limited, we don't have time to look at everything. I just want to mention that Stardraw Design 7.3 is a professional grade drawing application with all the tools that you would expect. Things like different cursor modes, selection, rotate, unlock, different modifiers, snap to grid, snap to path, orthogonal lock, which locks things into one axis or the other. We have the tools that you'd expect, like lines and polylines, rectangles, dimension, text. We can support images, and so forth and so on. But down at the bottom, title block. This will pop up a dialog because we supply some title block templates. We have an ANSI template, which is the one that's selected at the moment, but I'm actually going to use my metric template today. So the ANSI template has got US paper sizes from E size to A size, and the metric one has got ISO paper sizes from A4 up to A0 in different orientations as well. So let's say I actually want to use an A2 landscape title block for this. And when I insert the title block, I will want to give the drawing a title. I call it my main system, drawn by me on this date. Let's call it, 20. Well, that was obviously done a little while ago. 20th of March, 24. Issued for approval. Drawing number, let's call it ABC 007, and it's revision B. So that inserts the title block and it puts in that live data. And of course, the title blocks that you use, the templates themselves, are fully editable. So your title blocks will look however you want them to look. They can include your logo, your styling, whatever you need. Okay, so that is block schematics. Rack layouts we have also looked at. But this is simply showing two completed racks for this particular system. The drawing modules we haven't looked at, pictorial schematics. These are client-facing documents designed for a non-technical audience. You can show someone your system design in, if you like, a non-threatening fashion. Because if we zoom in, these products look like the real-world products. So this looks actually just like the Allen Heath GL2000 with every knob, switch, and fader. And that is much more appealing, shall we say, to a non-technical audience than the block schematic, which perhaps does not add value for that kind of audience. Perhaps it might frighten them. But certainly with a pictorial schematic, I can look at this and go, okay, yeah, we've got a big screen, we've got 3 projectors, we've got a big front of house PA system, we've got 6 microphones, a mixing console. I understand it looks valuable. It helps with your presentation. The fourth drawing module, if you are in the business of creating custom metalwork, you might want the panel layout module. So again, it's a drag and drop interface. Here, I've dragged out a 4U blank panel, but we have all kinds of panels, standard electrical plates, NEMA boxes, obviously rack panels. I've dragged out a Harting 72. I've dragged out an XLR. I've used paste array to create this array of 3 rows and 8 columns, giving me 24 XLRs, which parallel back to the 72. We've got 4 NL4 speak-ons on the right for my speaker outputs. Again, we have different views. So this is the front view. We have a metalworking view. This shows exclusively the engraving and the cutouts. And you can, because this is a one-to-one drawing, actually output this directly to a CNC mill, and it will spit out your punched and engraved custom panel. The third view in this drawing module is rear view. And notice the Harting is now on the right, the speak-ons are on the left, and the pinouts are as you see them from the wiring side. Remember, we've flipped the panel over, we're looking at it from behind, so no more reverse wired panels. And the fifth and final drawing module is plan view. As you can probably guess, this drawing began life in AutoCAD. So we have simply imported the DWG, and having done that, and remember, I don't own AutoCAD, I don't know how to use AutoCAD, but I can do this. So I can edit the objects that have come in from the DWG file using Stardraw's much simpler drag and drop interface. The general operating procedure when you're working in plan view is, of course, to show our product, our system, in the fabric of the building. So here in the control room, let's imagine we're going to put in a surround sound monitoring system for the front of house engineer. So as I drag in these symbols, these are, remember I mentioned the JSTD 710 symbols. This is that standard symbol for a loudspeaker. And that standard also happens to call for 4 dynamic data points on the symbols that show the mounting type, the primary technology of the product, the secondary technology, and the legend or schedule reference. And you can see those labels on the symbol. And when I drop the symbol, those placeholders are replaced with the live attribute values for those attributes. So this is very cool because it means that I could select all 3 of those loudspeakers and say, okay, well, actually, they're not wall mounted. They are CC. That's my code for ceiling mount. And I can change the data in one place and it updates all of those 3 symbols. In fact, what's really happening architecturally is that we are updating the product instances, and the product instances are then updating all of the symbol instances that represent them. And just to show one final flourish, if we go back to the products view and find one of those loudspeakers, we can also use the products view to edit attribute values. So here on the mounting type, I will just put in wow. And when we go back to the drawing, the product has been updated and all of the symbols throughout the drawing that represent that product instance have been updated too. So we have been looking, therefore, at a fully integrated design and documentation system for professional AV systems integrators. And during the course of this short presentation, we have messed around with the plan view drawing, panel layout drawing with the various different views, the metalwork view, the front view, high detail. We can generate a sales presentation or pictorial schematic for our non-technical customers. Rack layouts with high detail front and rear views, as well as a side view. Block schematics with the different circuit paths being shown on different layers. We have generated a cable schedule. We have updated attribute values. We have done quite a lot of stuff, but of course, there is a whole lot more that I haven't been able to show you today. So to learn more about Stardraw Design 7.3, please do visit our website, which is, of course, www.stardraw.com. Go to the Design 7 area, and if you haven't already done so, please do download the demo. The demo is a fully working version of the application. It includes all of the drawing modules. The only difference between the demo and the full version is that you are limited to 20 manufacturer libraries at any given time. And after 30 days, saving and printing will be disabled, but you can still mess around with the software. If you are trialing the software or you are a new user, I strongly recommend visiting our movies page. On the movies page, we have a few dozen movies that cover all the stuff that we've done in this webinar and much, much more besides. The movies are nice little bite-sized chunks of information. You can see 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there, 8 minutes there. They cover everything from the most simple and basic operations all the way to intermediate and advanced. So if you have worked through all the movies, you will be a Stardraw expert. These movies are also available through our Stardraw YouTube channel, which is of course youtube.com/Stardraw. And the beauty about the movies is that you can watch them at your own schedule and you can work along with them in your own pace. And that means that you can learn everything there is to know whenever you need to. And of course, finally, we do have pricing. You can buy Stardraw Design 7.3 online. The currency that is shown to you will be appropriate to your geographical location. We offer pricing in pound sterling, euros, and US dollars. And as you know, Stardraw Design 7.3 is a configurable application. On the first page of pricing, we have two of our popular pre-configured bundles. The entry level, which just includes block schematics and any 20 manufacturer libraries of your choosing at any time. The headline price is for the first year, first user. Additional licenses are half price. The year 2 cost, don't forget, is only 50% of the year 1 cost. The professional bundle is by far our most popular pre-configured package. It includes any 70 manufacturer libraries at a time. So remember, you can swap libraries in and out as long as your subscription is current. It includes block schematics, rack layouts, pictorial schematics, and plan view. It does not include panel layout, which is sometimes viewed as rather specialist. It includes all of the drawing modules and, of course, the 30-year subscription. If you want to configure your own bundle, you can do that through the more options page. And here you can see that the bundles vary in the number of drawing modules that they include and the utilities and the number of manufacturer libraries. And if you need a little bit of help deciding which is the right bundle for you, start the wizard. It'll ask you a few questions and work out the most cost-effective solution for you. So today we have had no questions. We have just had a question. Roger, you have asked, if you have a spreadsheet in Excel, can you import that into Stardraw equipment list and drag from that list to the drawing space, provide the products in the product library? Kind of like a reverse process. Yeah, that is actually an excellent question. Roger, let me show you. You are familiar with the fact that we can export an equipment list. So I'm going to do that from this project. So export an equipment list. And this is going to, again, go onto my desktop. It'll be called sample project equipment list. And there it is. So let's open that up in Excel. There we go. And this equipment list includes all of the product attributes for the products as they exist right now in the project. But from what I understand of your question, you would like to change or add some attributes through the spreadsheet. No problem. In row 1, add a new title like IP address. So you can imagine you've installed your system, you've commissioned it, you're now walking around with your laptop or a tablet, you've got this spreadsheet loaded, and what you want is a record of the actual IP addresses of all the products. So let's put in some values, 192.168.0.0.0.1. Just like in the real world, I'm going to say that every product has a sequentially numbered IP address, just like that. And from that, let's just close all of these down. I can then go back to Stardraw. I can import my equipment list. And there it is. And you'll see a dialog now that says, hey, this attribute has changed. That's the old value. There wasn't any. But here's the new value. So you go, okay, fine. Yep, that's fine. Let's take a look at that. And now if I were to look at any product, you can now see in the properties grid, we've now got the IP address value. And similarly, if I go to the products view, there is now a column there, IP address, which has got all of those values. So yeah, absolutely, you can import from a spreadsheet into your project. And the way, if you want a little bit more detail, the way that that works, oh, I've closed it down. Let me open it up again. The way that it works is that every product instance in the project has a GUID, which is what you see here in column A. So don't mess with the GUID, because that is what identifies that particular product instance. But if you were to add a new product, you can do that using something that is in the library. So I've just copied down a Middle Atlantic VTP1, and if I were to put in a few of those and save this, if I now go back to Stardraw and re-import the equipment list, sorry, I've done the wrong thing there. File, import the equipment list. Yep, okay. This is now saying, hey, oh, that's interesting. It should work. Oh, I know what's happened. Look, you can see that's Excel auto incrementing. Ah, okay, that's hilarious. Right, so it's that column there. You see, it's gone from VTP1 to all the rest. So let us save that, import it again. See, you can tell it's a live demo. This is the fun of it. So I can import the equipment list, and that is now going to add all of those products. I go, okay, thank you very much. And I've now got a bunch of new VTP ones in my project. And if I go, for example, to the rack layout, there they all are in the available symbols palette, because they're new products that are in my project, but aren't yet in my drawing. So that was a great question. I really enjoyed answering that. So hopefully, Roger, that has answered the question. I take it as. Okay, that's excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, folks, so we're up to date with questions. I'd like to thank you for sticking with me here for the full 58 minutes that we've been talking. Obviously, you can probably tell I can talk about Stardraw Design 7.3 for many hours. So I hope you've enjoyed this webinar. I hope you do visit our website, check out the downloads, check out the movies. If you have any questions, you can go and visit our user forum. With that, I'd like to thank you very much again for sticking with us. My name is Rob Robinson, and I look forward to meeting you out there in the real world, or perhaps through some other online forum such as this. Thank you again, everyone, and goodbye.